Hello, everybody. Happy April 29th, 2020. My name is Christopher Saunders, and this is the Connecticut Sports Talent Show, where we talk all things talents in Connecticut. And on today's show, we have the Sheehan football coach, head football coach. His name is Coach Ferrazzi. Coach Ferrazzi, thanks so much for being able to come on today.
Appreciate you having me on, Chris.
No problem.
Pleasure.
Anytime. First and foremost, I just want to say I hope you and your family are safe. I know you were just telling me before we started that your wife is 6 months pregnant, and foremost, how is she doing during all of this?
She's hanging in there, doing the best we can, being a great mother. We have a 3-year-old, so she's holding down the reins with our 3-year-old while I'm trying to teach online all day, and staying strong. And she's hanging in there. She's doing well, healthy. So that's all we can ask for right now.
And you mentioned that you're doing teaching. I'm sure it must be a balance to be able to, since you're at home practically all day, you have a wife, you have a child, you have school, you also are a football coach first and foremost as well. So you have a lot on your plate.
It's a full day every day. Teaching online and this distance learning situation is very different. It's a little overwhelming. We're making the necessary adjustments we need to try to get used to it. I think for me, the way I describe it is trying to get into a rhythm, and develop a daily routine. And it's something that I tell my students, and it's even more so something that I tell, our players, in terms of get back into a structured situation and develop a routine for yourself so that you can stay focused and, keep yourself structured, and so that's kind of how my days go. Pretty much from 8 to 4, I'm on a computer teaching, and then, doing the at-home thing with my daughter and my wife. And then once they're in bed, a lot of football at night, pretty much every night of the week. So, making the best of the situation, being productive, and still trying to get better every day, not using anything as an excuse.
I think in a lot of ways, hearing, you want to get better each and every day. It's hard to top what you did in 2019, winning the Class S championship. We'll have time to talk about that later on during this interview. But first, I just want to talk to you about, I'm always intrigued about the championship season, but more so what led to that. I know after 2018, you lost in the semifinals to Berlin, 34-22 in the Class M. Talk about with me kind of what went into the ending meetings of that season and then following with spring and preseason.
Well, I think everything kind of started before that. I think, we kind of had a newfound culture and a newfound identity that really started back in 2016. And we missed the playoffs that year. But, offensively, I think we put up some good numbers, and we had a player of the year running back in Zach Davis that year, who's playing at Fordham now. And that senior class really set a tone, for our program, that over the 3 years to follow, for 4 straight years now, we've had guys really buying in and upholding the standard, that was set back by those guys. So we didn't make playoffs in 2016, and then 2017, we made the playoffs for the first time since 1995. And we were a young team. We had a lot of sophomores on the field, and those sophomores were our senior class. We made the playoffs, played a tough Barlow team that's a triple option team. We played them the Tuesday after Thanksgiving, a young football team preparing for an option team, and Barlow got the best of us. But it was a great learning experience. And, we hung our hat on that losing score, going into that 2018 season. So our kids were hungry, and if I'm thinking back to that 2018 season, it was, everything was 47-34. Everything was 47-34. And, the idea was, not just to make the playoffs, but to advance and try to get ourselves to that championship game. And we did win a playoff game in 2018, returned most of the team, didn't lose a lot of seniors that year, returned most of the team, made the playoffs, got our first playoff win against Wolcott, and then played a tough Berlin team. And, we had some early turnovers, a couple early mistakes that made us, play from behind most of the game.
Mhm.
And, Berlin was the better team that night and moved on. Um, and we had to go home, after that semifinal game. But again, we made it a step farther, a step further, and we use that again as motivation going into this year. And again with a strong senior class, leading a lot of them who had been going into like third year of starting, propelled us into this season. And we had the chips stacked against us from the beginning though. Our enrollment dropped. We became a Class S school for the first time since probably the 80s. Um, our we got moved up to Tier 2 in the SEC. Half of the teams that we played were more than double our size.
Mhm.
We had 5L and double L schools on our schedule. We didn't play a Class S team.
Mhm.
Um, so it was tough. And we really just had to take it 1 week at a time. Um, throughout the whole season. And, we ended up losing 2 games down the stretch, and it was unfortunate. We lose to North Haven, who record wise, you know, hadn't had the record they had in past years, but, their record was not, indicative of who they were as a football team.
Mhm.
And, we went into that game without Bogan, and then we had 3 other guys go down in the game, and we still battled.
Mhm.
Still hats off to North Haven. They beat us, but we lost a close one. And but I think it really battle tested us. And then the following week we go in without those 3 guys,
Yep.
and had to play a very tough Cheshire, um,
Yeah.
and we were able to hang around with them a little bit in the first half, and then the second half it got away from us. Um, so, but taking those 2 losses and then finishing the
Mhm.
season at 8-2, qualifying for the 4 seed, kind of gave us still gave us that battle tested confidence going into the playoffs, because we felt that there were no other teams that played the kind of schedule that we had played as we entered the playoffs.
And it's also too, you got to consider like such a high power offense that you guys were last year, and even going back to the last couple years, but specifically in 2019, the only 2 losses that you guys had was the only times during the 2019 season that Sheehan did not score 20 points in a game. It's the amount of offense that you were able to produce, or the players were, but you were the one calling the plays. I think we got to start considering and calling you Cliff Kingsbury from Sheehan, because somehow, some way, 50, 60 points, man, that plays.
It certainly helps. It certainly helps. And when you have great players, they make you look good as coaches. And we definitely have a system, that we believe in strongly. And
Mhm.
we think the system works. But you put great players behind any system, they can make you look real good. And that's the difference. When you have players um, that can make home runs, and
Mhm.
that have that home run ability, like a Bogan and a Davis. Um, anytime they touch the ball, they can take it to the house. And that's certainly paved the way for us offensively, when you got players that you give them a crease and they can take it. But offensive line wise, for the last couple of years, we've been physical. We've done a pretty good job in developing guys, and guys have done an even better job buying into what we do in the off season. And everything led by our strength coach, Steve Versace. Um, we've been able to produce an offensive line that has played more physical football in these last 4 years than they did in the first 11 that I was at the school. So without that, it doesn't matter what's behind it. You got to win up front.
What's the saying? It's not so much about the X's and the O's, it's about the Jimmies and the Joes. And a lot of Jimmies and Joes on the Sheehan team. maybe just different names, but as you mentioned, the amount of talent on the senior class, but also underneath, very, very talented players, through and through. But, going into the playoffs, you faced Woodland first, and wasn't even a contest, 51-0. The second game, again, another NVL school, and this one hurts because you beat up on both the teams that I saw throughout the season, both in Woodland and Ansonia. The Ansonia game was a little bit closer. Talk to me about the game plan going into that game, because I can tell you, Coach Brockett, well established. I'm sure you know very well about what he's done with the program. But when you saw the quarterback, Sheldon Schuler, and then you saw Shaquem Harmon, the running back, I'm sure those were the two players that you guys kind of said, we can't have those two beat us.
Well, that game was an old school slugfest, and the weather kind of changed the game for all of us. It was probably the nastiest rainy game you can ever have played in. And that definitely had an impact on what both teams, could do in the game. It was hard to establish a pass game, and
Mm-hmm.
I know that we tried to throw it a little bit more, but Ansonia is a perennial power. As much if you're talking about a school with tradition in this state, if Ansonia isn't the first one, they're up in the top three. They're a team that's in the playoffs every year, and they're contending for a state title every year. And Tom Brockett has those guys competitive every year, no matter what happens, no matter what he loses.
Mm-hmm.
They reload every year. So you try to block out the hype, saying that this wasn't as strong of an Ansonia team as in the past. Well,
Mm-hmm.
it was one of the most physical games that I've ever witnessed from the sideline. I mean, the sounds of the hits and how hard the kids played was tremendous. And it was a tight game. It was tight the entire time. Ball security was probably the name of the game. Both teams were, putting the ball on the ground, and they goal line stood us, one time, in a crucial part of the game. It was tremendous, and to win that game, there was a sense of emotion that I hadn't seen out of our guys the whole season. Our guys had gotten used to winning, over the years. Throughout the season, there were no huge celebrations after games. I always kind of wondered why, but when we got that win, I saw a different side of them that I hadn't seen before. I'm a Kennedy grad, believe it or not.
Oh,
And
really?
I'm a Kennedy grad, and I graduated from Kennedy in '97. So as a player, I took plenty of whoopings from Ansonia in my day. And when I started coaching, I coached at Kennedy for 3 years too. So I relived it for a few years then as well.
Mm-hmm.
So a little something personal on that game from my past. But I mean, respect to Ansonia. I mean, those guys did a great job, in that game, and it's a wonder what would have happened in the game, if the conditions weren't where they were. But we were fortunate enough to come out on top and get ourselves to the title game.
Who would have thought that a Kennedy grad is now the Cliff Kingsbury of Connecticut? Who would have thought?
Hey, not me, not me, not me.
Mm-hmm. Hey,
Where the
you
roads
deserve
lead
that
you.
title. You deserve that title. I mean, the proof is in the pudding. It's not like it's 1 year of scoring 50-plus points. You were doing it 2 years ago, last year. I mean, you named the year, since you've been at Sheehan, it's like the offense has been there. And, you found ways to be able to put up these high-scoring affairs. Even the championship game, and we'll get to that in a second, 64 points in the championship game. I mean, that's a score I see in basketball games, not football.
Well, as a head coach, you're only as good as the people around you,
Mm-hmm.
and obviously we talked about the players before. When you got great players, you got a shot, but you have to surround yourself with good assistant coaches too. And I've been fortunate to have some great ones come through, and I still have some great ones with me now. And I've had, you know, 3 or 4 guys go on to be head coaches.
Hmm.
Um, you know, our offensive coordinator, who was also our offensive line coach, was Pat Miller, and he played for me. He coached with us for 9 years, and after the season, he got the head football coaching position at Norwalk High School. And you know, the identity that Pat set, not only with our offensive line, but how we approach the run game, you know, was something that, you know, I can't take all the credit for, because, you know, Pat was instrumental in the identity that we were able to bring towards us on offense. Um, you know, and you know, he put himself in a position where now he's a head football coach, and it's certainly well deserved, because he's one of the best around.
It's a humble, view that you have. And, it's nice to hear that and see that how you're delegating the success, not all towards yourself and saying it was all me. You're giving credit to the players, you're giving credit to the coaches. And as you mentioned, a lot of them, now you have to start looking at your coaching tree, because you have, the coordinators, you have the, special teams. I'm just naming, positions, but you have
Yeah,
guys who are now going to become head coaches, and in a lot of ways, they're taking what you taught them and implementing that into their program. So in some ways, if you ever play against them, well, I'm sure you talk with them throughout, and I'm sure you will continue that. That's a compliment to you, because your view of the Sheehan program will now carry on, but in other programs around Connecticut.
yeah, and I think it's helped bring a respect to us, you know, at Sheehan, because you know, it wasn't always like that. Last year was my 15th year as a head coach, and I've had more down years than great years, you know, especially through, you know, the first 10 years. There was a lot of trial and tribulations, and you know, I was in the right place at the right time. When I got the head job, I was only 25 years old. I turned 26 during the season, and had a lot to learn. Had a lot to learn, and stayed the course. And you know, once you get mature enough to be able to look back on things and realize where you have to be open minded and where you have to get better, I think that's when you actually start, you know, to improve and be open to things. And you know, it's kind of the way I do things. You know, even 15 years as a head coach, you know, I'm still working on my game every day, and that's, you know, not only what I try to relate to my other coaches, but the players also. And I'm super happy and proud of the guys that have been able to go on and get head coaching jobs. And I'm, you know, humble enough to say I'm very happy for them, and I'm glad that they came from us. Dear friend of mine, Gaitan Rodriguez, became the head coach at Torrington High School, and you
You
know,
know Coach Gaetan?
oh yeah, we're longtime friends.
He's a
Uh,
great
since
guy. He's
since our
he's another
college
guy.
days,
He's built
we
the Thornton program. You could tell, like, there was a couple situations they've had, and he has put his foot
yeah,
down. He's handled the program with high class, and he's one of the
he's
good
the
guys in
best.
the
He's
PPL.
he's tremendous. Um, you know, we've been friends. We played against each other in high school, and kind of had that cordial competitive player relationship when we played against each other, and we
Mhm.
both ended up at Springfield College together, back in 1997. And since then, we became good friends. And when I got the head coaching nod at Sheehan, I brought him on as my offense coordinator back in 2005, and he was with us up until he got the head position at Torrington. And another guy who got a head position is Matt McKinnon. Matt McKinnon came out of college, and he coached with us for a few years. And I knew Matt he would be another great up and coming young coach. And first year as a head football coach, they're in the playoffs. You know, so it's you know, really happy for those guys. It's tough to keep good ones, though. You know, it's tough to keep them, and
Mhm.
when you lose them, they're hard to replace. But you know, you just keep the axe keep the axe to the grindstone, and and keep chopping.
And it seems like, you have a keen eye for talent with players. Same thing with coordinators and coaches all around. And all of that success and being able to mesh it together accompanied a 2019 Class S championship. Talk to me about that game, but more so at first, discuss with me, I guess, because I'm sure your players were feeling maybe not nervous, but they were excited. There was a lot of energy going into that game against Bloomfield. Talk to me about how you kind of were able to keep them an even keel, but make sure they didn't get their energy too up where they would kind of lose the sense of what they were as a team.
We had veteran leadership, and it wasn't really difficult to keep them grounded.
Okay.
They were motivated. They were hungry. They believed 100% that they can win the football game, although we were looked at as the underdog. There wasn't a lot I had to do, and I got this question a lot, like, well, what did you do differently? How did you change things? And the answer was very simple. We changed nothing,
Mm-hmm.
and that was our thing. We talk to our players about this all the time. We remain consistent to who we are from
Mm-hmm.
week to week, no matter what happens. We don't change. We don't change what we do. We don't change our approach. We don't change how we practice. We don't change our preparation. So why change when we have our players to something that's working? As far as it goes for the kids, like I said, there wasn't a whole lot we had to do.
Mm-hmm.
They were locked and loaded and dialed in from the beginning, and it was this was a goal of theirs. Their goal was to win a state championship, and to that it wasn't lip service.
Mm-hmm.
They always believed. They had gotten left with a sour taste in their mouths,
Mm-hmm.
losing in the playoffs as sophomores and then losing as juniors. So going into that game, our kids were focused.
There was a quote that you said to a reporter after the game when you won the championship. You said, "We told them to go easy when adversity happens. Don't panic. Once we get the momentum, let's ride it." I kind of know what that means, but what did you mean by that? Just for the
Yeah,
people.
you're making me relive it now. I'm getting goosebumps again.
Oh, that's a good thing.
That's
That's a
a
good
good
thing.
feeling. I mean, look, let's make no mistake about it. This Bloomfield team was tremendous.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I mean, the talent that they had on that team, every single offensive skill player had ability to take the ball to the house at any time. Their quarterback was tremendous. They were big and athletic up front. Um, you couldn't really double a receiver on one side because you got Simpson on one side and you got Massey on the other side, and then it didn't matter the running back that they had in the backfield if those two guys are out there. You had to play honest with them all the time, and they were gonna try to pick you apart no matter what you did. Then they put Simpson in the backfield, or then they put him in motion and give him the ball. Um, I mean, they were loaded, and we had to tell our guys from the beginning, like, look, they're gonna make some plays. It's going to happen. We're not going to shut them out.
They're too good.
They're gonna make plays. We're gonna do everything right, and one of those guys are still gonna make a play on you. And if you make a mistake, they're gonna make you pay for it. But the biggest thing is don't make it easy on them. Okay, don't make it easy on them. I mean, we told our DBs,
Mm-hmm.
when in doubt, align for success, align where it's going to make you feel more confident. But at the same time, we didn't play conservatively on the defensive side of the ball. And I don't think our defense got enough credit because of, the type of numbers that our offense put up. Um, you know, we weren't really a man coverage team
Mm-hmm.
throughout the season. We sprinkle it in here and there. We played man more than half the game, and because we knew we were going to have to put pressure on Bryden, and I think we ended up with maybe 2 or 3 sacks, but we made him run around a little bit. But the biggest thing that we said to our kids is weather the early storm, because they're going to make plays,
Mm-hmm.
and we're built for the 4-quarter ride. It's who we are. It's what we train for, and talent for talent, they were definitely more talented than us.
Mm-hmm.
They jumped out on us 14-0, and we got beat on an easy score by Simpson. They moved him into the slot, and he put a move on one of our safeties, and the kid comes off the field, hanging his head. And I just said, hey, Just don't make it easy on them. Okay, don't make it easy on them. Hang in there. We're gonna come back. We're gonna put one in. Relax. There was no panic. There was no overly getting emotional about anything in the game. And then what happened? We put one in. We go down the field. I think we caught Davis for a score to get our first one on the board, and they went into halftime down one. I think it was the first time they were down all year, and at that point, like our kids just had a confidence that they knew they weren't going to lose. For me, as a head coach and keeping everybody calm and focused and composed was number one. So I don't know if I went off on a tangent there.
No, Coach,
Yeah.
I honestly, man, I love it. I love being able to hear about, because as a broadcaster, I was off doing other games, but I was making sure I had some of the guys from Game Time as like, when they tweet something, it immediately pops up on the phone. I wanted to know the score of this game because I know Sheehan, Bloomfield, I knew it was going to be a shootout. 64, 33. I didn't expect that high, but man, I love the quote that you just said about when in doubt, line of success, that kind of stuff. I mean, all these quotes, you could put these in fortune cookies. That's how good they are. Seriously.
Yeah. No, I mean, but we came back out in the second half. I think both teams might have traded 3 and out. They ended up scoring first. They went back up, I think 33-27. And at that point, we just went on a tear, and our kids had a look in their eye and had the eye of a tiger that they're going to say die. And I think we really began to wear on them. Where in the later stages of the game we were able to get into some of our heavier sets and kind of do some of the things that we did all season. And we got a few stops on defense. We got a huge interception by Michael LeMay late in the game, where he came from the middle of the field and picked off a ball outside the numbers, over the shoulder. At that point, it was like you started to get the feeling that, we had sealed the game. But at the same time, I was trying not to let anyone like celebrate on the sideline because these guys can score in one play. Bryden can catch and throw to Simpson. Doesn't matter how many guys. That kid can put the ball wherever he wants to. And both of those receivers, I think Simpson had like 180 yards receiving on us. I mean, he made a few plays that game. I was like, wow, this kid's tremendous. But our kids made a lot of plays too. Jordan Davis had a tremendous game. Terrence Bogan, our quarterback. I think he had 3 rushing touchdowns and three passing touchdowns. He kind of had his best game of his career also. Here's something in the game that not everybody knew either. At halftime, we come out of halftime, our guys go back up in the box, and the base for our headsets was on a table underneath the tarp, and like somehow the table got pushed forward, and all the water drippings, because it was raining, that dropped down right onto the base, shorted out the whole system. We had no headsets in the second half.
So what did you do?
So and we got the ball first. So Pat Miller, he calls plays down from the box through me. I've got no communication with him. So they got nothing. I look up, they're gone. So they're like trying to sprint down. I start off, where I just start, calling the plays for the first couple. Those guys come on the sideline. Now, Pat Miller and another assistant who's been with me for about 6 years is Bill Garrity. Those guys have been up in the box for that long. It was kind of funny. They had no idea where to go on the sideline. So what I had to do is I had to put Pat where I would normally be on offense, put him there. When we were on offense, I managed the sideline. Bill kind of did the same thing. And within a series, we just got back into a flow. But we had nobody in the box in the second half. I mean, that's a true story. The system's done. We got it sent out. The system's done. We need new headsets.
Mhm.
The whole system's crapped out. The water got in it and blew out the whole system. So
Hey, adversity. I mean, in a championship game, and what's the saying as far
go
as
figure, right?
exactly like when
Yeah.
adversity strikes you and it's something as big as a championship game, you know, how you react to that is basically what you are as, it shows your character. And for you guys to be able to go old school and just, try to find a way. And it's not like this happened in pregame where you have like 15, 20 minutes before the game to figure
No,
something out. This was right on cue. We got to figure something out now because the game's starting. That's amazing.
the kicker's literally in motion, and
Wow.
they're still up there trying to figure out how to get these things going. And
That's
but
amazing, coach.
basically at that point, they threw the headsets down. They
Hmm.
sprinted down. They came onto the sideline. I guess I made a little adjustment. I put one guy in the spot that I'm usually in, and
Hmm.
boom, it was like just keep it going, just
Wow,
keep it
coach.
going. But that's a true story, though, man. It was
I
like
love that.
instant panic
Hmm.
step into all right, let's go. There was no time to think. It was just got to turn the page and go.
Coach, that's a great story, man. I don't think I've heard a story like that in a while, especially something dealing with the adversity. We got a couple minutes left. And once again, coach, I really do appreciate the time for you to be able to come on. Um, Last 10 seconds of the game as it's winding down, you know that you're about to be Class S championships. What is the first thing that ran through your mind?
I think it was just the journey, the journey through the years to get there, and and just the jubilation that I knew that was going to come over the kids because they earned it. They bought into everything, that we were doing, and it's we all know football's tough. Football's tough, and to be successful, you got to work really hard, and you got to have some things go your way, and all those things happened, and it wasn't perfect. It wasn't perfect, and but for that end result to happen was just it was the culmination of years and years and years of work, with a group of kids who really believed in everything that you were selling, everything that we were selling, because it's more than it's way more than just me. Um, I'm the one that gets to call himself the head coach, but to do what they were able to do, was just phenomenal, and I just couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to sprint onto the field. It was like almost like I was waiting for, the gun in a track meet to sprint onto the field. It was awesome.
I like the word that you use, the culmination of everything that kind of went into all the hard work, all of the getting up at 5, 6, you name it. Everything kind of worked for, everything that you guys worked for was all being celebrated and shown why you guys went through what you did in that one moment of winning the Class S championship. And you know what?
Yeah.
It must have been great, coach. And being able for you to be able to relive it, reflect on it now during this quarantine, like you said, you were getting goosebumps when I asked you a quote that you said after the game, and you were getting
Yeah.
fired up. I loved it.
No, it's awesome. Every realistically, I would say every couple of weeks, I'll just turn on the film. Um,
Yeah, why not?
we as coaches are doing film work several days a week anyway, so
Mm,
looking at cut ups and things that we have, those clips pop up, but just casually, whether it's on a computer, an iPad, or a phone, I'll just turn the game on, just to kind of, because you don't want to let it go. You don't want to let it go, and you want to have those memories and be able to feel the way you felt that day. Um, this quarantine's not doing anything for our Rio. That whole process has getting put on a standstill. We
mhm,
had just finished getting everyone sized, probably with maybe within a week or two before this whole quarantine happened.
mhm.
And last we heard that the plant was shut down. So we're kind of just stalling. We were hoping by probably around now that we would be able to you know have a ring ceremony for our guys and be able to, relive it one more time. And hopefully that'll still happen. What happens, we'll figure out a way. Um, but hopefully it happens soon.
I'm sure it will. I think, you'll find a way when this virus is done because the virus will be beaten and hopefully we'll be able to, get back to some sort of normalcy. But, you'll find a way to be able to make sure that the seniors who helped get the program to the point, win a championship, I'm sure there'll be a way to make sure that they are represented in the right way. So that way future seniors and also underclassmen can realize what they did as far as leaving their footprint on the program.
Yeah, no doubt. There's been several events that have gone on, that have kind of made this thing stay live for us.
Hmm.
We have a great banquet every year. Our booster club does a phenomenal job, giving us a banquet, and so to be able to have a team banquet after a season after winning a state title is huge. That puts a whole different spin on the banquet. Our athletic director had a banner raising ceremony at halftime. Of a basketball game, and I think at the end of February, the last Friday night home game was against Hand at home. So we had a banner reveal that night, which was tremendous. We had a deli in town invite us in, did a video, named a sandwich after us.
That's
Um,
awesome.
so all those things are great, and all those things are great, and it's really nice to be recognized when you do something great, especially within your greater community.
Was the sandwich named after you guys scoring over 50 points a game?
The sandwich was named after our slogan of the year. Every year,
Mhm.
we have our leaders and seniors come up with kind of what the slogan, the mantra of the year is going to be. And
Mhm.
last year was raise the bar.
I like
Um,
that. I like that.
so we knew to be after 2 years in the playoffs,
Mhm.
we knew we were going to have to do something more, something better, to be able to get to a title game and win a state championship. So it was only fitting. That one was kind of easy for us. So Vinny's Deli in Wallingford, there's a little plug for you. Appreciate that, guys. But raise the bar sandwich. Go have it. Keep it going.
Coach Ferrazzi, I really do appreciate the time being able to, come on the show. I could do this all night, but you have a family to take care of and you have more important things than talking to me. But just thank you for being able to come on. I really do appreciate it.
No problem. Anytime. I appreciate you having me on. Thanks for thinking of me.
I'll wrap things up here on the Connecticut Sports Talent Show. So until next time, stay safe and enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.